government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
Maybe you thought you'd see it coming. The moment Bitcoin is what they fear it is. A way to read it.
What an astounding revolution. Bitcoin.
Welcome to the Crypto Show on 89.1 FM, the Logos Radio Network. We're coming to you live from the real heart of the resistance, the most dangerous studio on the planet, at Defense Distributed, home of the Ghost Gunner and the Crypto D&D Studio, where we're printing and milling out freedom, undermining the banks and the man, but having some fun while we do it.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Pinky and the Brain. Yes, Pinky and the Brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. They're laboratory mice. The team has been sliced. They're Pinky and the Brain.
Well, welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Crypto Show. It's February 25th, 2018. It is a Sunday, and welcome to the final 3 or 4 days of February. It's been good to be back. Danny and I were at Anarchy, of course, for basically the better part of a week. Danny, actually a little more than that, I think. And he's actually back at Anarchy right now after going to Metapec to finish some work on the houses he's been doing over there. Danny, how many houses are you at now again?
We've done 2, and we're starting with we broke ground on the 3rd one, and we're fixing to get started on the 4th one.
Excelente, as they say south of the border.
They
congratulations on that.
They do say that south of the border.
I know, I was there.
Excelente.
Well,
you know, there's a Mexican Mr. Burns here, and that's exactly what he says.
Excelente.
Yes,
that wasn't bad.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Well, and of course, you joined me yesterday for a call-in for a presentation that Harlan and I and you did for the Texas Liberty Conference?
Yeah,
what were we at?
Texas Liberty Conference. I think the website Texas Liberty Pack.
Gotcha. And it should have been recorded. I need to follow up on that probably tomorrow. Get in touch with the MC of that. But it should be recorded, and we should be able to put that up for our listeners on Facebook and the website, and also probably to one of the Dash threads on Reddit or elsewhere. We mostly talked about Dash in the context of Liberty, and it was sort of a quick tutorial for those who may not be that familiar with cryptocurrency, Bitcoin or Dash.
I heard it was huge. I heard it was like massive. They had like 6 figures there.
It was 6 figures. It really was. I know it's hard to believe, but the Oasis where it was at has just this huge auditorium. It was like, it was like seeing, the Aerosmith in the 70s or something.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, by 6 figures, you mean like 6 people.
I don't know. I was just kidding, but yeah.
Well, it's probably more like 6 people, but we had an okay turnout in the audience. It wasn't a huge conference to begin with, but I thought it was a good presentation between me, Danny, and Harlan, explaining not just about Dash and cryptocurrency, but about what Dash can accomplish. We talked about remittance payments. We talked about Danny's building projects, of course, in Metapec. And we talked about feeding the homeless and all the things that we've been able to do thanks to Dash. So it was pretty cool stuff. And we're going to have another, Danny and I are probably going to go to another conference in Dallas next month.
Yeah,
and it's going to be at the
March 21st, UT Dallas. So we'll be speaking to some people there about cryptocurrencies and stuff.
Pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it. And, if you guys are in the area, if you're listening and you want to go to that conference, check it out. Do you know any other info about how people can go if they're interested?
No, I I don't have it right offhand. I'll check with it and get you the information on the next show or something.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of the next show, Danny, come on, tell our listeners about the next show. Well, this show, let me just say before I
think it was John. It was John, right? Like John Cougar Mellencamp.
John Leguizamo.
Yeah, one of those Johns.
He's going to dress up like he did from, what was that movie, to Harold and Kumar? No, not Harold and Kumar. Remember the one where he dresses in drag and it's like him and Leslie Snipes and I think even Johnny Depp?
Your half, the better half of you is starting to show. I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about. What was it? It was something like With Love, Julie Newmar.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Wait, why did I even bring that up? Oh, no, John Leguizamo. But anyway, it's going to be John Stossel, everybody. Are we still on with John Stossel, Danny?
Yeah, as far as I know, it's John Stossel.
That's incredible. And if you don't know who John Stossel is, he was previously, I think, on, what was it, Dateline and 60 Minutes. He was definitely on Fox Business. And he's been a broadcaster for a long time. He used to do consumer product investigations. Well, he realized that the government screws people over way more than any corporation does, so he started focusing on government malfeasance. And he's done it ever since, and, he's a big name. As a friend of mine put it, he's the white Geraldo Rivera. And I guess that's kind of accurate.
Similar mustache, I guess.
Yeah. Although, with all due respect, I think John Stossel's reporting tends to be a little more serious and important. No offense, Mr. Rivera, but you've had a checkered broadcasting career. Some pretty good stuff, some, stuff a little more questionable. But who am I to judge?
Yeah. I'm still waiting to find out what he found in that vault, but, whatever.
I know. If no one knows what that's about, at the very early part of his career, I think this was back in the 70s. Maybe it was the early 80s.
No, it was like late 80s or the 90s or so. It wasn't really early on in his career either. So.
Oh, never mind. You're right, because his career started back in the 70s. In fact, I remember there's a clip of him. We're kind of biding time this segment till our guest comes on, probably next segment. But there was a clip of him from a show he did in the 70s when the Zapruder film was just released. I'm hungry, so I'm not talking very well. The Zapruder film, of course, was the apparently only footage of the assassination of JFK, or the only good footage. A lot of people think it was doctored, but I remember his commentary on it where, they didn't release the Zapruder film for at least 10 years, probably 15, I think, after the assassination. And so the official story was that, Kennedy was shot from behind, but even as the Zapruder film shows, he was clearly shot from the front. And I remember Rivera commenting on that. But yeah, late 80s, he was, what was the vault? Was it like Capone's vault or something in Chicago?
Yeah, Al Capone's vault. It was just an empty, there was nothing.
Yeah, and it was this big build-up, the idea that Capone had left like all these millions of dollars or, other valuables.
It could have been on a USB stick. Maybe it was actually Bitcoin, and they just kind of covered it up with the rubble and never actually found it.
That's probably true. It was just in the corner under a rock.
Yeah.
Little did they know they had like 10,000 Bitcoin on it. Oh, poor Geraldo.
You mean but that would have only been a pizza back then. Not even a pizza.
Or even less, because it only was able to buy a pizza back in like 2010.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, not much more than a pizza. But, if he'd held on to that pizza, or at least the equivalent, he'd be rich today.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of our other guests, we're going to have on Larken Rose. Everyone's probably familiar with Larken Rose. He recently spoke at an Acapulco. Actually, he spoke last year as well. Has he spoken every single year, Danny, that you're aware of?
The second, third, and this year. So I believe 3.
Okay. He only wanted to come to the ones that I attended, so I don't blame him for that.
Oh, yeah.
But, of course, Larken Rose is the author of, I think, one of the best libertarian books out there. It's changed a lot of minds based on talks I've had with people who've read it and used to think very differently. It's The Most Dangerous Superstition, and it's basically about the idea that government does not have and cannot have authority or legitimacy. And then he basically goes into the idea that authority itself does not exist. And not to say that there isn't knowledge authority, from an expert or something, but authority as in the authority to coerce men and to treat them like cattle or children and to basically boss them around. That sort of authority does not actually exist. It may pretend to exist. Rulers may, invoke it to as a justification for what they do to people, but that doesn't mean that it actually is real. It's just fake. And so it's a really good book. And, of course, he's done some other stuff, too. We'll probably talk about that. We'll talk about his talk at Anarchapulco. I actually missed it, unfortunately. It was a debate between him and Lauren Southern, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I wasn't there for that either. We were so busy with the other interviews or anything. But, yeah, I did see pictures of that. And then I was kind of sad that I missed that.
Yeah, me too. Well, I mean, I guess we'll get the rundown from.
Yeah, I had a talk with Luke, and I'm not gonna say anything.
Why?
No, I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's not my place. No, it's not my place to repeat anything he said. So.
All right, fair enough.
I actually like Luke, so.
Oh, you don't want to get him in trouble. Okay,
right,
fair enough. Luke, what did you say, buddy?
So, Larken is here with us now. So, go ahead.
Howdy. Just crawled in from the middle of nowhere.
Well, welcome, Larken Rose. Welcome to the Crypto Show. It's been a while.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
And when you say you crawled in, do you carry a snail shell on your back, and that's where you put all your stuff?
Well, I just slink in from the shadows, and
we don't have a light outside,
like a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, like a ninja.
Yeah.
I like that. So our guest, of course, is Larken Rose. Kind of needs no introduction. He's one of the most famous anarchists out there. Does a lot of wonderful work. Articles and videos, and of course his most famous book, which is The Most Dangerous Superstition. Now, I read that book, I don't know, 2-3 years ago.
Oh my God! And you got the title right the first time.
Yeah.
Normally it takes him like 3 or 4 months to get the title of the book right.
Most people get it wrong the first 3 times they try.
And what he's specifically referring to is Cody Wilson's book, The Gun Printer's Guide to Thinking Free.
Our studio is in Cody Wilson's office, and we're always talking about Cody's book, and he can never get the name of the book right.
Right. Awesome.
Sorry. It's Come and Take It, The Gun Printer's Guide to Thinking Free. Although I do believe when we had you on last time, Larken, it's probably been almost a couple years. I think I had trouble getting the name of the book right. But anyway, I read that book, The Most Dangerous Superstition, like 2 or 3 years ago. I'd already been an anarchist for quite some time. But man, as simple as the book was in its prose, and not, simple in a simplistic way, but just the clarity and simplicity of the prose to communicate the ideas, it was really brilliant. I mean, just showing how governments lack legitimacy, they lack authority, in that authority in the political sense does not actually exist.
Right.
And such a well-argued book. If you haven't gotten it, go to larkenrose.com, his website, or go to Amazon, and you definitely need to check it out. And I think also with this is the Dragon Anarchist. Is that right?
She doesn't have headphones yet.
Oh, no. Well, hopefully y'all can share.
We'll figure it out.
Her name
we
is
just staggered in 2 seconds ago.
Well, we wing the show. We'll wing it. Her name is, of course, Amanda. Is it Rachwitz? Am I saying that right?
Rachwitz, yes.
Rachwitz.
Yep.
Rachwitz. And, of course, her website is thedragonanarchist.weebly.com. So check that out. Well, again, Larken, it's a pleasure having you. How was, I guess let's start off with, how was Anarchapulco?
It was awesome. It was also sort of exhausting because we decided to do 50 million different things this time. We each did a talk, did a debate, we did our 2-day Candles in the Dark seminar, did a musical performance, which we then did again at the Anarchapulco that happened after that. So it was frantic mayhem, but it was worth it. We're almost to the point where we can almost.
Danny said you played the keyboard from the movie Big with Tom Hanks. Is that right?
Not exactly. Close enough. It was a big keyboard. It was a big keyboard indeed. Not quite that big. We didn't dance around on top of it. But,
oh, that's too bad.
But other than that, yes.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but well, tell us about all those things you did. You know, unfortunately, Danny and I missed a lot of speakers, such as yourself, unfortunately, that we really admire, is because we were doing a ton of interviews during the conference. But we'll break it down for us. Tell us a little bit more about this candlelight thing you did, the music you played, and I definitely want to hear about not just your presentation, but your debate with Lauren Southern.
Right. Well, I guess we'll see if we can briefly cover the things in the order we did them. The first thing we did was our Candles in the Dark seminar, which is a 2-day thing where we basically teach anarchists on how to talk to statists in a way that bypasses all their usual psychological, emotional freakouts so that they actually hear what you're saying. And it has nothing to do with what I do in public. When I do public debates, I'm not doing it for the benefit of the person I'm talking to. I'm doing it for the benefit of the audience and the spectators. But when I'm actually one-on-one with somebody, you know, having been an anarchist for 22 years now, I accidentally learned a whole lot about psychology and the things that set people off and make them throw up a wall and run the other way, which is how most discussions between anarchists and statists go. And there actually are ways to make that not happen. And so we spend 2 days getting into into detail and all the psychological considerations of how to actually have friendly, open discussions with people who don't believe this stuff and haven't even heard this stuff, and they actually work.
So do you go through? Do you actually, aside from going through concepts, do you actually go through scenarios that you have people practice with each other, or maybe give us a little more detail?
Yeah, it's a 2-day thing. The first day is almost entirely about psychology, controlling your own psychology and understanding theirs. And then on the second day, we tell the attendees, 4 of them can invite in a statist, somebody who still believes in government. We don't call them a statist because that sounds mean. But then we do little 15-minute practice sessions in front of the group to let people practice what they learned and to let them see what actually happens when you approach it this way, which is drastically different from how the normal discussion between a voluntarist and a statist goes.
This particular seminar was really fun to do because Anarchapulco sort of marketed it for us, and the problem with being in the States and being as busy as we are is that we haven't been able to have enough time to market the previous seminars. So it was one of those things where I think the largest one we had of the 4 we did in the States was the Phoenix one, and that was about 40 people. And Anarchapulco turned out with I think almost 90, 80, somewhere between 80 and 90 attendees.
Yep.
And then Nathan Freeman, who of course kind of has put the conference together. He does all the work, of course, behind the scenes to get the conference together. Came in to our seminar and said, would you guys mind if on tomorrow for day 2 when you bring in 4 statists or just people who haven't thought about this thing, these sorts of things, when you bring them in, can I bring in the general manager of the Princess, where the Anarchapulco, of course, was held this year. So we said, sure, go ahead. And so Nathan was able to get the general manager of the Princess resort where Anarchapulco was
Wow.
held to come down, and he was the very last and final guinea pig of sorts, and Larken was the one to do the actual, run through some questions and talk to him himself. And it turns out that he is what we would call a default anarchist. There were really no inconsistencies in his morality, and he essentially expressed the notion that I think people should, what's right and wrong for me is the same as what's right and wrong for other people. There shouldn't be people with extraneous rights and that we don't have. And then also, if you're investing your money in something, you should do it voluntarily and consensually, and you should know where it's going. And so we realized, okay, he may not have realized that makes him an anarchist yet, but he's definitely morally consistent, it appears. So.
Yeah.
Another fluffy bunny.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Our pet word for anarchist. Fluffy bunny.
Oh,
Sounds
I thought that was just our personal pet word.
Well, yeah.
Well, it was until just now.
Well,
that's out. All right.
Oh, they know about us, Chris. Damn it. We're gonna have to shut the doors.
Hang up now. Well, we have about a minute left till break, but I want to ask you a follow-up question. Do you think that a lot of people are like that, manager, where they are anarchists and just don't know it?
Absolutely.
Most people.
Yeah, and the thing is, the way most anarchists approach the conversation actually make the statist cling tighter to his statism instead of helping them release the inner anarchist that almost everybody has inside them. And the whole purpose of Candles in the Dark is to know how to talk to their inner anarchist and get it to wake up and to free it from the lies it's been told.
A tidbit from the seminar, just one little quote that you threw out in one of the segments is...
Sure, in 20 seconds, by the way. Go ahead.
A thing for anarchists to remember is more shrink, less preacher.
Right, so be asking questions instead of preaching at them.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I like that. That's pretty good. Well, we're coming to break. We'll be right back with Larken Rose and Amanda Rachwitz, the Dragon Anarchist. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's the way I have to approach my dad. He's a hardcore liberal, and I always have to talk to him about how shitty those fucking Republicans are. Those fucking pricks. Oh, but by the way, here's what Obama did. That son of a bitch. Yeah.
He actually, what you learned through, like you said, 20 years of arguing with people and doing it wrong. And then what I learned just from you and from others and from my own testing was that you can bypass all of the political talk, you can bypass all of the economic things, the theorizing about what society would be like, and going into guessing and predictions and talking about current events. All of that stuff is a complete non sequitur from the real heart of the questions that need to be asked, and that can lead them right into their cognitive dissonance in 2 seconds. And you don't need to ever introduce your own beliefs or your values or your view of the world into it. You can literally just walk them right up to where theirs contradicts itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that Chris and I kind of used the same method at Ground Zero. You remember, Chris?
Oh, yeah.
So, we were at Ground Zero, and we were looking through the window at those nice little cut beams.
Right.
And the tour guide comes up with about 10 people, and she goes, "Everybody go over there and stick your nose against the glass." And then when they did, I just started asking the question, "Hey man, how come that there pipe is just cut at a perfect 45-degree angle like that, and there's no slag on it? Why are they both cut exactly the same height?" And they all started. Everybody's looking at each other like, "Yeah, why? Why?" And they look at the tour guide.
Right.
And then Chris and I walk away, and the tour guide literally chases us down. She goes, I know, but I can't tell them."
Oh, man.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I know not everyone sort
hearing.
of, subscribes to that, but it was real. We saw it, and, there was no slag, because what they'll say is that those beams were cut after the fact.
They were cut after the fact.
The rubble,
the debris.
But if that were the case, they would have slag. They wouldn't be perfectly.
If you're cutting with a torch.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
So.
But yeah, that was crazy that she really did that. She really did run up and say that to us. Like, it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah,
to be sure.
It was definitely a trip.
If I were her, I would wait till I was really ready to quit, and then my final tour I would say everything.
Yeah.
And it quit.
Well, we were
right.
We were pissed off because right next to this window is a big sign that says, like, what was it, $50-$60 to get in? Like, I'm paying you assholes $60 to go look at some shit you blew up.
Here comes our false flag.
Wow.
Disaster.
Right.
I know. Tell me about it. Danny, I want to go back to New York, though. We need to do another New York Liberty Fest or something.
Yeah. Well, we'll do something with Jonathan, with Mohan.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Except I'm not going to rely on him to book our hotel.
Oh, of course not.
Speaking of Dash, by the way, I got my very first Dash paper wallet cash given to me this year at by another anarchist. Yeah, it was an
Hey, congratulations!
Donation, so I was like, this is an excuse to actually have the Dash wallet, because before it's just been, I've occasionally hodled Dash on the exchange for a bit, but I haven't actually got to.
Well, then you should feel terrible because the orphans in this neighborhood. There's more orphans in this neighborhood than you have Dash wallets.
Oh no!
Literally.
No, but I know enough about Dash that it's been one of the cryptos I've had my eye on, and I've been keeping my eye on it and going in. And as soon as I can start using more of that trading and more of that, I want to be able to do it. And now I have my wallet with some Dash in it.
You ready?
Well, heck yeah, that's great.
All right, we got music
playing. We're coming back. Bring us back, Rick. Guys, welcome back to the third segment of the Crypto Show, and I'm going to hold off for another segment on the CryptoCompare.com news bites. I did just find them, though. But we're talking with Amanda Rachwitz, the Dragon Anarchist, and Larken Rose, Mere Anarchist. Anarchist Extraordinaire. Anarchist Extraordinaire. But you know what? I was just asking if you guys thought that a lot of people were like the manager of the hotel, that they were closet anarchists, just don't know it. And Amanda, you said something perfect off air, kind of in response to that. Do you remember that? Can you repeat that?
Oh, in response to the fact that people
are kind of closet anarchists. You kind of said, you were saying something like, a lot of people try to go for political topics.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, and right. But that's the wrong way to do it.
One of the basic points of the main driving thing of backing our seminar that we try to get people to understand is that anything political, anything related to, economic theory, current events, predictions about things that will happen, and theorizing about what society will be like, all of these things are non sequiturs and distractions from the real moral issue, and in introducing your own values about those things and talking about those things and your opinions is a waste of time, but it's also right where their brain wants to go to avoid looking at the required mental contradiction that statism requires you to have in your brain. And so without introducing your own values and beliefs, you can lead them through a series of questions about what they believe right up to where their own values have to contradict, because all belief in statism requires a contradiction in the brain.
It really does. That's well put, and you're right. I mean, while in some cases it can be fruitful to pursue certain topics, that's really not the way to begin, and it often leads to a dead end because, like you said, people are prepared for that. They usually use it to avoid the real heart of the matter.
Right.
That's very well said. Well, go ahead.
And yeah, much of our focus is emphasizing it's not that it's bad or immoral to bring up this or that or use this or that approach. It's just a matter of what actually works in light of the weird way that human psychology works. And what doesn't work, like the vast majority of the time, is if they perceive you as an outside foreign opinion. They're going to defend against that because to them you're a threat. And for them to even listen to you or think you're right would mean them admitting that they're wrong and confused and stupid or duped or anything else. So the goal has to be basically have the discussion be between themselves and themselves, where you're a referee between what they actually are and the authoritarian garbage they were taught, instead of the fight being between you and them, because then they just put up a wall and they go on the defensive.
And it's important too that a lot of people they don't understand, and I didn't either. So much of our approach to a conversation dictates how that person is going to respond, because their subconscious is picking up on your energy. So if you're going in thinking, I'm the weird anarchist that's the outlier and I'm going to be attacked for my beliefs, you're going in with a defense combat mode, and you're expecting them to attack you, and you'll often see that they do respond that way. They jump on you. They sort of expect that you're coming in thinking your beliefs are weird or doubting them. So you need to come in sort of confidently and casually, but you also can't come in aggressively in combat mode either, because if you're in evangelist mode, they immediately detect, oh, somebody's trying to come in here and put their beliefs and put their ideologies on me. And so either defensively or aggressively, anarchists go into conversations with an energy of combat, and that's what often shuts people down immediately.
Right, it's kind of like everything has an equal and opposite reaction. Their reaction is going to reflect the way you approach them to a large degree. I mean, some people are going to be just whacked out in their response no matter like how well you approach them. But
you guys are going to have
in
to
general,
you guys are going to need to teach Jeff Berwick these things, because what was his name? Robert Kiyosaki. I was at the Red Pill conference, and he tried to tell Robert Kiyosaki he was an anarchist. Oh my God, the dude wanted to fight.
Okay. Well, Jeff hasn't been to one of our seminars yet, so maybe we'll arrange that for next year.
Well, and that was a rather strange episode with Robert Kiyosaki and Jeff. I think Jeff generally knows how to do it, but again, some people just get whacked out no matter what.
No, that guy, that dude is just plumb crazy, man. Because someone else just was randomly talking to him, and he went off on him and starts talking about Vietnam and flashbacks, and that dude's psycho.
Yeah. Well, I hope he gets if he's troubled, I hope he gets the help he needs.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
We should probably retitle his book "Rich Dad, Crazy Dad."
Oh God! You said it. I did it.
Part of the seminar is knowing when to walk away from somebody, whether temporarily or permanently, because it's not like there's a shortage of statists in the world, so you can find another one to talk to pretty dang quick.
That's a very good point. Well, and speaking of your seminar, do you guys do this on a regular basis? And if so, how can people find out about it?
Well, this is our 5th. We want to keep doing them, but basically we have to know that we're not losing money in the process, because we don't have any more to lose. And we either broke even or lost on the first 4 we did. So it's just a matter of knowing there's enough an audience that wants it, that justifies the travel and renting a place to do it, if someone isn't donating a place and things like that. But
what about the number one topic they're always going to come at you with?
Marauds. Well, we actually get into why they say marauds, and they don't even know why they do it, and it took me years to figure out why they do that, and it has nothing to do with roads.
Well, I can tell you one thing about government roads. You see my door? It fell off from driving down government roads.
Really?
Yeah, the door on my bathroom fell off because the roads are so bad here.
Oh my God!
Pieces falling.
Well, I mean, at this point, I think most people who are in the state of understanding of the world that we are do know that most of that money is not going to roads. It's going to lining pockets and building war machines.
Right. That's very true.
But it took me forever to figure out that the reason their brain goes to, well, how will this work or how will that work, is because that's a comfortable discussion for them, because they can just guess and say this won't work or what about this, and like they're trying to poke holes in it. That's their brain trying to get away from the uncomfortable underlying principles of basically them cheering for violence or them believing that some people have superhuman rights, like things that are unfamiliar to them and they don't want to think about, and their brain will go in any other direction. And a very popular one that they go to subconsciously, it's not a clever evasion on their part, it's automatic, is just making wild guesses about, well, then we'd be killing and eating each other, or how will this work, or let's talk about anything other than my own internal contradictions. And so what you have to know how to do is gently keep them on point by way of questions, and gently keep them looking at their own contradictions, instead of getting into arguing over like wild guesses of how something would work, or what the future.
Generally, it's private contractors that are actually working for the government doing these things.
Right.
And then, like in a situation where there's a toll road, the toll road will be built probably 5 to 10 times faster than any government road. I know, like in Cedar Park, Texas, right outside of Austin, there was this one section of road that's about 2 miles long. They worked on that thing for 5 years. In that time, they built an entire toll road all the way around Austin and out to Cedar Park, and and all out of concrete, and all they were doing was laying some asphalt.
Right.
So,
My response now is, if somebody actually asked that question, my response is usually, who do you think builds the roads now? Because oftentimes they prove that, one, they don't know, and two, I tend to make them remember that nobody's out there cracking whips, making people build the roads. So there are people who voluntarily took a job that they did not have to take to go build roads. Probably the same people who have always liked building roads will help build roads.
there's one
Exactly.
here in Metapec. We're doing some work in Metapec, building houses and stuff. And there's a manhole cover that's been missing for about 6 months. And they just put like sticks and a tire in it so that you can see that there's something there. When we get back, we're going to have our contractor go over there and build a manhole cover out of concrete. And we're going to fix the roads. And we're already fixing government buildings there, so we might as well fix the roads too.
It's okay, anarchists are already fixing the monetary system, so we might as well start fixing the roads.
There you go. Well, make sure when you fix a manhole, you do it government style and make it a square manhole, okay?
And make it stick up like a foot so people crash into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, well, we're coming to break. We'll be right back with Larken Rose and Amanda Rachwitz after this, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we're actually rebuilding the community center, the senior citizen community center in this town, because the government doesn't have the money to do it. So we're getting a bunch of cryptocurrency companies to donate money, and we have a contract rebuilding the senior center.
They're letting you do that.
Anarchy works in the
They're
real world.
not only are they letting us, they're giving us kind of like the key to the city. Like yesterday, we had a situation where one of the people that we were trying to build a house for ended up getting money from the government to do it, and they hired a contractor out of Puebla. And the contractor wouldn't show up and wouldn't answer their call. So Maria called them up and said, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, whatever. And then they finally sent someone out. And then I called the president over and said, hey, meet me over here. So it was just kind of to show that I knew the dude. And then they okay, we'll be there tomorrow. We'll be there tomorrow to start your house. so it was pretty funny. It was just this like soft threat.
Right.
Hey,
we
know people. And now they showed up the next day and started building the house.
Right.
So
I bet that would be more difficult in the U.S., where the police have come out to stop anarchists from patching potholes. Like I said, you're not allowed to do that.
Oh, we don't ask permission here. I mean, even the president of the city, he's like, man, I got to go through all this paperwork to do this and that. I'm not doing anything. I'm just building the house. And
leave me alone and won't do it.
He goes, okay, just do it. I don't care. It's like, we have the coolest situation in the world. So Dash sponsors our show, and they also sponsor us.
More succinct.
To rebuild houses for earthquake victims.
Right.
It's really cool.
So we just have them for one more segment, right?
Yeah. And then Rob, I mean, if you guys want to sit in too while Rob comes on, do you know him or the guy that?
Rob who?
Rob Hustle. He does that video. This is what happens when you call the cops.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
he was supposed to come to Acapulco, but I guess he had something come up.
They're doing a new film. That guy's he's really awesome, man. He's helped us out.
Yeah, he really is.
He's doing filming for Free Ross and all kinds of stuff. So.
Your segments are 15.
Yeah.
Should we overlap one
if
he wants?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. And he and his wife are coming on. She's the producer of the movie as well. So.
Are you doing them remotely or here?
Yeah, they're doing remote.
Okay.
Yeah, they're Skyping in from California.
Okay.
So they might stay for a little bit, or what?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks, guys.
You might stay.
All right, well,
Yeah. We love to.
bring us back then, Rick. All right, guys, welcome back to the fourth segment of the first hour of the Crypto Show. It's gone by fast. It always goes by fast when we have excellent guests like Larken Rose and Amanda Rachwitz. And by the way, I mentioned the most dangerous superstition, but there's also the Iron Web, How to Be a Successful Tyrant, the Megalomaniac Manifesto, and Kicking the Dragon, Confessions of a Tax Heretic, and other writings by Larken Rose And you should get those on Amazon and help support Larken Rose and just help support your brain by reading those.
On the downside, all of those are out of print right now. All of those are out of print right now. We're working on getting the Iron Web and the Most Dangerous Superstition back. The ebook version is available on Amazon, both of them. But ran out of money for the next printing before it was time.
We can probably get them bootleg for about 8 cents here in Mexico. It's like we have a whole stack of movies around here that each DVD has like 4 or 5 movies on it. 50 cents, man, and we can get
maybe that's what you should do is start printing in Mexico.
Yeah. There you go. Make it so, number one, Danny. I'm so glad I have a copy of it. Well, I'm just glad I have a copy of The Most Dangerous Superstition. I lucked out at getting it a few years back. So, hopefully we can get it reprinted. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it just recently went out of print, and we're thinking, based on where we are circumstantially, we're thinking we'll be able to get it back in print fairly soon. So.
Yeah.
Well, I will promote the hell out of it if you do, for what that's worth, because it really is just an excellent book. It really is mind-changing. So you guys need to get that out as soon as you can. Well, getting back to what we were saying, I just wanted to add, as far as the Marauds thing, I will say, the more sophisticated statists will talk about issues of, like land ownership and how that affects building roads. But in reality, that's a little technicality that is easily worked out by tons of economists and philosophers over centuries, really. Like, for instance, in Rothbard's For a New Liberty, he talks about how there used to be private roads.
Right.
And in fact, every single thing that a government has ever done, any service, has been done by the private sector. Every single one. And it's better. Go ahead.
And much better, too. And
way better, yes, exactly.
And the thing I often ask them, because they're asking those questions as a cop-out. So I basically back up and say, okay, wait a minute, just so we're clear, are you saying that unless and until I can explain to you how everything will work in a voluntary society, unless and until I do that, you are going to personally advocate a giant violent ruling class making me pay for the government version of everything? Like, is that why we're talking about this? Because you're going to condone that until I can assure you, I can describe for you how every detail of society will work without that. And it makes them uncomfortable, but that really is why they say it. Like, they're basically saying, I'm going to hold on to my familiar, immoral, authoritarian superstition unless and until you can explain the whole world without that. And just pointing out that, well, that's what you're actually arguing. You're basically saying, well, I'm going to keep advocating slavery until you explain to me how the cotton industry will thrive without it. It's like, that's not okay. That's not a good position to have, even if the cotton industry would fall apart. So pointing out the moral thing is what matters, and that's why they do the evasion, to argue about the practical, because they don't want to talk about how they are personally advocating the initiation of violence.
And one of the things that's brilliant about the seminar that, it's like it's funny, but putting the work into it revealed to us the more we did it. Like, wow, it's almost like we were surprised at how well this works. And we knew it was going to work, and we knew the seminar was going to provide value. But then when we got to see it and really do it, I learned from it. I learned from me doing it. And one of the things that's fascinating is this levels the playing field across the board for all statists. It doesn't matter how much they've talked about this stuff. It doesn't matter how economically savvy they are or stupid they are, because all of the questions are the most basic English Socratic method approach type questions that anybody can understand, that can avoid all political speak, and that can drive to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter that almost none of them want to look at, because they've been allowed to basically avoid this their whole life through their programming, is, do you want to be forced to fund or to take care of or to do things or whatever that your conscience says you shouldn't have to be forced to fund? Do you want a gun pointed at your head to make you do things you don't want to do? No? Okay. Can you extend that to me? okay, can you extend that courtesy to everybody else? And that dissolves government. And they have this giant, like Larken said, this giant lie they've been taught that comes in to try to justify and go, well, I can't possibly have this whole world telling me we need this stuff if there weren't some reason I need it. So they jump to, but what about this, but what about this? Because they're repeating the excuses that they were taught and the lies they were taught. And what our seminar does is teach people how to use questions without imposing your own beliefs to just very gently hold their feet to the fire and say, here's the moral question. Do you believe you should have to do this? Do you believe others should have to do this? And find out through questions where they're going to see, oh my gosh, I just said I don't want to be forced to do this over here. Now I can't really answer, yes, I want other people to be forced to do the same thing over here.
Right, exactly. And it really boils down to that simple, basic question, and it's not oversimplifying to put it in those terms. It really is that simple and easy. And like you said, people want to avoid confronting the simplicity of their own contradiction. And the thing is, too, it's like, if you have to use a ruling class to coerce things to get done, it shouldn't be done in the first place. Not just morally, but like, if you have to coerce something into existence, that means nobody really wanted it in the first place.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like someone maybe wanted it, but the only way they can get it done is through violence and theft. And so, that too is just a major, I think, glaring fault in the statist ideology. And if you really took it even beyond that, I think the moral and ethical argument is enough. But there are some people who are fine with theft and stealing, or at least say they are. I think underneath they really aren't. But then you have all sorts of utilitarian arguments that, while secondary, in the end actually support the ethical and moral argument. But like you said, that often is a dead end way to go about it. If you can really just put it in those stark moral terms, it's really hard for people to get around that. So,
I think, Chris, I'm going to get into something here. What do you guys think of these kind of Gulf Gulch ideas here, like Anarchapulco and New Hampshire and things like that? I mean,
I think it's awesome whenever people are trying to find ways around the state and to avoid the state and to trade without the state. For me, my main focus is the numbers game. Like, the more of us who actually believe in freedom, the more of those solutions there are. But I love anything anybody wants to try to get beyond the reach of the ruling class. And the beauty is, when we get enough of us, we don't have to avoid them anymore. We just ignore them out of existence. But between here and there, whatever people can come up with to maximize freedom and minimize authoritarian control.
It may have a better effect where there's a larger concentration of people that to be able to kind of reach out to
the more the merrier. Yeah,
especially if they're able to do something positive in the community, and then the community sees them. They're not so crazy after all.
Right. And it's sort of like Jeff said, and we said this before. We do our seminars, and Jeff said, we want Anarchapulco here now because the goal is eventually we don't have to be doing these seminars, and I don't have to talk about or say the word anarchism, and I don't have to have these conversations, and we don't need Anarchapulco.
Because it's the whole world.
Because it's the whole world.
Yep. Well, I agree, but until then, we need the two of you to give more seminars, and maybe we can arrange something in Austin at some point. There's local Bitcoin meetups. A lot of those people are anarchists or libertarians, and not guaranteeing anything, but it would be really cool if we could, be able to have y'all come down and do that and make it worthwhile for you guys. And
Bitcoin conferences are getting kind of fanatical. I went to the one in Austin recently, and it just exploded. I mean, normally I was going, it was like 30 people, and this time there was like 150 people.
Nice.
2 days ago, I went to the Bitcoin meetup in Mexico City, and there was like 300 people, and there was a waiting list of 150 people that couldn't get in.
That's
cool.
Amazing. That's good. And the same thing in Arizona. Stuff's sprouting up all over Arizona. There's a really big freedom-minded community in Arizona growing. And
are you guys in Arizona now?
I live in Arizona.
I will be.
He will be soon. But you were saying about doing more of the seminars. A lot of it is that our time is so divided that the hardest thing with the suppression of Facebook algorithms is planning a seminar and actually being able to market it or have people know about it. So the biggest way we could use help, I guess, from the community is if you want to have it somewhere, get on the ground and find out if there's at least 30 people that for sure would show up or so, or market it out to your area, and then we can plan for it. But a lot of it is like we're going to lose money on it. You know, we've had venues donated to us so that we lost at least a little less. And that's really the biggest thing, is having people help us put it together, but maybe help marketing it and planning it ahead of time so that people know it's happening.
Right, and invariably we'll do one, and the next day somebody who lives like a mile away will say, "Oh, I didn't know it was happening." So
thanks, Facebook.
yeah, so marketing.
Tell me about it.
We post for weeks about it, and people still don't know that those things are happening. So we figured trying to cram 4 into a year like we did, where we had basically a month or two in advance to even talk about it, wasn't enough time. We need to market.
You have to disguise it and put it like it's a Democratic, you know.
put it in code.
Yeah, it's a discussion about the Democratic Party.
Put Hillary Clinton's face on some meme in the front.
I'll scare everybody away. We can't do that.
I know.
Yeah. How to re-elect Obama for a third term.
No, well, we're trying to market them to. It's for liberty. It's for people who get the ideas already, but are struggling to talk to people about it.
Right.
So we're trying to get anarchists to come to it and
can't
just
scare them away with Hillary's face.
Yeah.
That's good. Right. You know, we're actually coming to break. Well, I'm glad you guys are going to stick around with us when we talk to Rob Hustle. Maybe we can still spend a few minutes to finish up talking about Anarcho before we get to Rob, but we'll see. We'll be right back after this break.
Awesome.
Hey, Rick, are you there? Rick.
Yeah, what's up, Danny?
Can you go ahead and call Solara 0B? Solar 0. S-A.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Sure.
Clearly presents God's plan of salvation, growing in Christ, and how to build up to order you New Testament and basic elements of Christian life. Call Bibles for America toll free at 888-551-0102. That's 888-551-0102. Or visit us online at bfa.org.
Live Free Speech Radio, LogosRadioNetwork.com.
And you guys don't have to worry about the level, because when she's talking and you're talking, I'm adjusting it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing, Chris?
We don't care. This, it's like, no. Bring on the 9. We don't care. We've got shots.
Won't be as bad as the road.
I know. Oh, no, we were driving to Miami from Mexico City area, and we went the back way in one of these mountains, and there was, I forget, Tampico or something. There were some really shitty roads, and the door just fell off.
Yeah, that Skype name there, Danny, isn't coming up anywhere.
Oh, try. Are you SALAROB or 0B? Maybe it's capital O.
All right, let me try that.
Just try. If you have Rob Hustle on there, just call Rob Hustle. That was the original Skype that we used the first time we had him on. Oh, it's SALSAR. Salsar 0B. You got that, Rick?
Yeah, I'm actually adding him to the call to the group call right now.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry, I misspelled it, so I'm sorry about that.
Cool. Yeah.
Hello.
There he is. What's up, Rob?
Hey guys.
Hey man. So yeah, I seen some of the stuff about the movie, and I really actually forgot, but let me know. And it's probably too late to find out anything about South by Southwest, but I think there are some other film festivals in Austin. So.
Yeah, the one we applied to was called the Austin Revolution Film Festival, but I'm not sure what other ones are down there. We just know that there's a lot of filmmaking there.
Yeah, there's a bunch, man. I'll check around. I know some people they're on mainstream radio and stuff, and one of the great places, and they've got venues all over this country now, is Alamo Draft House.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have Larken Rose and Amanda Rachwitz here still sitting in with us. So we'll finish up a little bit and maybe have them join us with your conversation as well.
Sure.
You ready, Chris?
All right, go ahead.
Music.
Guys, welcome back to the second hour of the Crypto Show. Remember, it is February 25th, 2018. Don't forget our partners, Logos Radio Network at logosradionetwork.com. You can donate to them to keep wonderful programming, or deprogramming, I should say, like the Crypto Show going. And they've been around a long time, presenting you with alternative ideas for feeding your brain. So check them out, and don't forget dash.org and Defense Distributed, and Cody Wilson's book, Come and Take It, The Gun Printer's Guide to Thinking Free. And not to mention Larken Rose's books, which we're going to try to get back in print hopefully soon, like The Most Dangerous Superstition, The Iron Web, and How to Be a Successful Tyrant, and others. So hopefully we'll have those out. And if you want Larken Rose and Amanda Rachwitz, the Dragon Anarchist, to come give a seminar in your town, just try to get at least 30 or 40 people together, and maybe try to find accommodations for them amongst the community, and you can make it happen, and it can be a life changer for a lot of people. And you'll get to meet two of the most influential anarchists that we have today, and who wouldn't want to do that? So check that out. And real quick, before we get back to Amanda and Larken and our next guest, let me throw out a CryptoCompare.com news bite real quick.
But first, I need to shame you. First, I need to shame you for not mentioning Rob after the intro song on the first break.
Well, actually, I was going to. Really, I had it in my mind, and then I got distracted with something and I forgot. So there. That probably doesn't make up for it. I know. But don't worry, I'll make up for it. And by Rob, by the way, it's Rob Hustle. That's right, the one, the only. He's back on the show, and we're not talking about mere music videos this time. And don't get me wrong, music videos that he's done, songs that he's done have been great. We're talking about something bigger, so I'm really excited to have him on. But before we do that, let's do the CryptoCompare.com news bite real quick. White House official, crypto regulation not anytime soon. A White House official said last week that legislation around cryptocurrencies is unlikely to materialize anytime soon. Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, White House Cybersecurity Coordinator and Special Assistant to the President, Rob Royce, offered the dour assessment amidst a recent flurry of discussion on cryptocurrency regulation, which is playing out between Senate hearings, enforcement actions, and public op-eds, according to CNBC. A White House Cybersecurity Coordinator said, quote, I think we're still absolutely studying and understanding what the good ideas and bad ideas in this space are, so I don't think cryptocurrency regulation is close. I don't know, Dianne Feinstein really is chomping at the bit to do her best to shut down, well, freedom in general. First it was guns and everything else, but now cryptocurrency. So hopefully though, this White House official is correct, and they're not planning on doing what governments do. Well, let's get back to our guests again. Larken Rose and Amanda Rachwitz, the Dragon Anarchists, are sticking with us for a little bit to talk to Rob Hustle. And, of course, Rob Hustle, his songs, This Is What Happens When You Call the Cops, and the sequel to that, Good Cops. And we had him on the show a while back to talk about that song and the music video with it. But he's here back on the show to talk about a new project. And you can go to his website, rob-hustle.com, to check out his stuff. And Rob, are you there?
I'm here. How's it going?
Rob, it's going great. Excellent to have you back on the show. It's been a little while.
It's great to be here. I love talking with you guys.
Always a pleasure, man. Thank you. Well, Rob, one thing I want to start out with is I originally heard you were going to go to Anarchapulco, and I guess it turns out you weren't able to make it. Is that something you could talk about, like why you weren't able to make it, and are you thinking about going next year?
Oh, I love to go. I love that conference. But we had the world premiere of our short film, The Inconsiderate House Guest, the exact same week. So we had to do, we had to finish up some post-production to prepare for the premiere. And we just had that premiere at Smash Cut Cinefest in San Francisco, and it was a great success. So, so we're really happy to have done the premiere, but also sad that we missed Anarchapulco.
Well, you know what? If there's a good excuse to have missed it, it sounds like that's the one. So. I won't hold it against you for that, but hopefully you can come next year, because it was definitely a great time. Awesome. Well, I want to just quickly start out. Probably most of our listeners are familiar with you either from your previous appearances on the show, or just through the word of mouth about your talented songwriting. But before we get to
the intro on our first commercial break, what do you?
Well, in that too. I mean, that's why I said our listeners. Okay, I did say his previous appearances, but also your music is obviously part of our intro during one of the segments. It goes without saying. But for those for those listeners who may not be terribly familiar with your previous work, just give us a rundown for them of what you've done and kind of how you got started and what your message is all about.
So most people are probably familiar with me through my song called "The Cops," which came out several years ago, but has amassed I would say somewhere between 50 and 100 million views worldwide. So wow. That's the one that's gotten the most traction. I released a sequel called "Call the Cops," but overall, my goal is to use music and art to try to open people's minds up to different ways of thinking. One of the things that I see in people that I guess would consider themselves activists is that they have a lot of logic, a lot of really good arguments, but if you can't really get people to open up to them, it doesn't matter how logical your arguments are, people won't change. Like if your goal is to actually change people, I think you kind of meet them where they're at, and the arts are a great way to do that. Like if someone likes your music, they're kind of open to the message. Same thing with movies and film, which is why we're trying to go in that direction as well. If we can create a culture that displays the kind of art we're capable of making, then I think it will attract people to us and then attract them to our ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. And, having just said what you said, it's so fitting that we had you on with Larken and Amanda, because they were just talking about a sort of similar but different concept. Well, basically how you approach people about the ideas of freedom and liberty. And, as you said, one of the best ways to do it is through music. Another guest we've had on before, James Corbett of CorbettReport.com, he talked about how one of the best ways to get the message of liberty out or other ideas that are difficult for people to swallow is through humor. And he even had a DVD about with clips from his own work covering that. And what Amanda and Larken were talking about is you also have to know how to approach people in a more general sense, using the Socratic method, not getting caught up in necessarily specific topics, but talking about the real philosophical core of things, and also approaching them in such a way that you don't get a brick wall thrown up between you where they have a reflexive, aggressive reaction to what you're saying. You really need to approach them in a kind and soft way, and in such a way where they think that as you bring them to the conclusion, they've arrived at it on their own. So, but again, one of those excellent facilitators of sending messages like that is music, and I think your music does a really good job of that.
And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but I also do stand-up comedy. So I think humor is one of the best ways to get at people, which is, if you get someone to laugh at something, they've just admitted the truth of it. And they can't take it back, right? You can't go back after the fact and say, wait, that wasn't funny. So that was one of the reasons that with our short film, we focused on making it a short comedy, which I think it's difficult to make a comedic film that works on multiple levels, that also has, a message behind it. Because a lot of times with music and with comedy or art in general, if you have a message, sometimes the message can become overbearing and you can just hit people over the head with it and it kind of turns them off to the art. So I think you need to actually be funny or actually have good music first so that the message has a chance. But humor is one of the absolute best ways to reach people, because once they laugh, they've given you that yes, and they can't really take that back.
No, and that's a really good point. It's not simply that they're giving you the yes of they've opened up their minds to what you're saying. That is, which is true, and that's important. You know, you're right though. I never really thought about that. When someone laughs at something, they are sort of implicitly admitting the truth of it, because they wouldn't be laughing at it if that weren't the case. And so that's a really good point. And you know, before we get into your film, though, tell us a little bit more about. Maybe you did tell us on a previous appearance. I don't remember. Maybe not.
Clever. That's what's so clever about Saturday Night Live and the Democrat Party.
What do you mean they tell the truth of it? So you can't help but laugh.
Well, they're always making jokes and stuff against whatever Republican they can, but rarely do they do it to the Democrats.
That's true.
It's very
even sometimes when they do, you laugh because it's true. You know, when they're making fun of Hillary or whoever. Yeah, absolutely. SNL would be one of the best venues
but then
for
again,
that.
I mean,
if they weren't so biased.
Trump's not so hard to make fun of. So.
I know. And Alec Baldwin does such a great job on SNL of imitating Trump. He's so funny.
At this point, I don't think that anybody in politics is very difficult to make fun of.
Right.
They're all pretty easy.
That is an excellent point. If it's not just their goofball personalities, it's their goofball decisions in the legislature or in the bureaucracy. Exactly.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things that Rob said that it's so funny he said that, and he came on and mentioned this, is the humor thing. Because it's something that Larken and I both this year, we did an unusual thing where we did the Candles in the Dark seminar and our talks, but then we also have been collaborating and beginning to write music together, because we're both musicians, but we haven't really used that as activists. And so we did a musical performance at Anarchy this year, and a lot of people didn't expect that. And then Larken thought, maybe I should. He said, I've written a lot of comedic stuff before, I've done comedic stuff on the fly, but I've never prepared something. Maybe I should prepare something. And he actually almost did something like that at Anarchy this year too, but we decided we were going to save that.
Right, and it all ties into what Rob was saying. Like when you're connecting with them through music or comedy and they're laughing, that's just a different version of the same goal of Candles in the Dark, which is get past their psychology to connect to them as a person, so they actually hear you and you're on the same side, and they don't perceive you as like the enemy trying to preach at them. It's just two people sharing an idea and sharing a laugh or sharing art or whatever.
Yeah, well said. And I really hope that you break out this comedy bit next in Acapulco, Larken. Because I'm really,
I'll have to let
really
you borrow my Stephen Lynch CD. So.
Oh my God! If you could imitate Stephen Lynch, that would be awesome. Because he's hilarious. Well, we got about a minute till break. So because we have such a short period of time before break, we're going to wait to finish. Not to finish talking.
But real quick, you could sing a Stephen Lynch song to who was that you? What's her name that you debated?
Oh, Lauren Southern.
Yeah, it's called "I Think You're a Nazi, Baby."
She was at least right out with it. He was like, "She made this easy for me." Thankfully, she made it easy for me. She started off the debate with, "I totally want men with guns standing at the border," and Larken said, "Wow, that's usually half the battle, is getting them to say what they actually want."
So yeah, that was nice of her to surrender in her opening.
Yeah,
that's true. What a generous gift to just go ahead and give it to you, right? Like, okay, here's what I really want.
Outright with the fascism. Get outright with it. She was bold right out there.
Woohoo! Way to go.
Right. Well, we're coming to break. Hopefully, maybe a little later on in the show, we can talk a little more in detail about that debate. I was hoping to get that covered in the first hour. We didn't quite. But we'll come back and talk more with Rob Hussle before we get to that about first his comedy career and then this movie, which I'm really excited to talk about. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Yeah, we didn't even get into that. How did that turn out, by the way?
The debate?
Yeah, I mean, because obviously the audience was not on her side.
Right. Well, there were a surprising number that were, but they already were, like, minarchists were already there.
Oh.
It was nowhere near a majority.
The Ron Paul thing blew up in our proposal so fast, that I mean, it was bound to attract slavery like this.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I got to give her credit for daring to go in front of that audience and argue that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still stupid and immoral, but at least.
Well, what we
I like that slavery
what
lighted.
we experienced coming across the border was coming into Mexico was very welcoming, and with the red carpet, and they treated us like humans. And when we went back across the border, when we went to Miami, they threw all of our food away, and killed all of our plants. They threatened to arrest Maria for assault because she got mad and threw some dirt on the floor, on our floor. And then they threatened to arrest me for sweeping the dirt out on the ground. Like, you can't put organic soil on our GMO.
Defending yourself is always magically assault for some reason.
You're going to poison our GMOs with your organics. Get out of here.
Yeah, they had an FDA rep who currently works for Monsanto there, making sure you didn't put anything organic.
Like Maria had maybe 10 plants, and they took all of our plants, and all of our fruits and vegetables and meats and everything. They were just complete assholes.
And the plants were from the States, right? You said?
Yeah, we brought them in from the States. You can't prove that to us.
Your mangoes could be bomb.
Right. I'm like, dude, there's volcanic ash all over my fucking Jeep back there. Will you wash our car? No.
They don't want to bring it up. They might make you wash your car before they let you.
Right.
All right, we're coming back. Rob, your wife is with you too, right?
She's in the other room right now.
Okay, if you want her to come on and join you to talk about it, feel free, obviously.
We don't have two mics right now.
Oh, God. Excuse me. Gotcha. All right, Rick, bring us back, please. Guys, welcome back to the Crypto Show. We're talking with our guests, Larken Rose, Amanda Rachwitz, the Dragon Anarchist, and Rob Hustle of robhustle.com. Actually, there was no hyphen. It's just robhustle.com. But check him out. And, again, if you're not aware of him, not only is he extremely talented with a great message, he's been featured all over the place. NBC News, Fox News, InfoWars, Daily Kos, Zero Hedge, WallStreetJournal.com, CopBlock, CNN, Reason TV. It doesn't get better than that.
Macabre!
Check out his work. This is what happens when you call the cops good cops, if you're not familiar. But, Rob, before we get into the movie, just for context and just for my own knowledge, because I wasn't aware, tell us about the comedy you do. Is that something that's a more recent development, or is that something you've done for a long time?
I actually did more comedy like a while back. I haven't done stand-up in a little while, but I've been continuing to write material. But the way that all started out is one of my buddies that I trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with is a traveling comic, and he knew that I wanted to do comedy, so he let me open for him one time when he came to headline in our town, and that's how I got started with comedy. And I just found that it was a really great therapeutic outlet for me. So my first couple sets were just me kind of downloading all of my feelings about getting divorced and things like that. And since then, I've just been writing material about pretty much anything that concerns me. So I have a whole lot of stuff that I haven't really debuted yet because I've been working on music and filmmaking. But at some point, I'd love to get back on stage doing stand-up, especially if we can have a venue at some place like Anarchapulco where we have a bunch of comics go up. That would be awesome.
That would be great, and that's a great thing to suggest to Jeff Berwick for next year. Considering the expansion of Anarchapulco that's already occurred with all the extracurricular activities and workshops and stuff, I think a comedy edition would be awesome.
Benny Wills is already there. I'm sure you guys could work something out.
Yes. Yeah, Rob Hustle, Benny Wills, and Larken Rose, that would be an awesome comedy trio, or however they want to work it out.
Believe it or not, there's quite a few people at Anarchapulco that surprised 2 years ago when Jeff Berwick decided to have a roast of himself, and he asked his friends to roast him, and we got to find out who in the community sort of naturally has a knack for it, and it was the first time I have ever seen Larken nervous. Here's a guy who's talked to crowds full of people who are completely against what he believes and pissed them off, and all he had to do was write a few words to roast Jeff, and he was sitting on the bus going, I don't know how to roast somebody. I've never roasted anybody. And I said, yes, but you have the brain to write comedy. And I sort of threw out an example. I said, come on, Jeff's not that hard to roast. Like, he's our friend, but he's not that hard to roast. And so I threw out something that, he could totally mock Jeff for, or something jokingly, and I kind of did an impression of Jeff. And that was all Larken needed, and all of a sudden he ran with it, and we get on the bus, we go to the roast, and by the end of the ride to the roast, we get there, Larken gets up on stage, and he had the whole audience rolling. And then Jeff comes out, and he roasts, of course, everybody who roasted him, and Jeff just nailed it. Like, Jeff had us dying laughing, and there were multiple
Jeff
people
was really good, I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and so I just thought, oh my gosh, there's totally this talent here, just like the musician talent. Rob, you have this musician talent that you're using, and you're kind of combining that with, this stuff that is very provocative for a lot of people. But I really think there's a lot of anarchist art in the community that's about to unleash.
Well, the reason I think comedy is more difficult than anything else is because when I'm doing music, or if you're giving a speech or any of those things, you don't really need the audience to be on your side. Like, I can get into my music, and I know if I'm doing a good job of delivering that, whether or not the people agree with me. In comedy, you need them to agree. Like, if you don't get the laugh, the joke essentially failed. So it's collaborative in that sense. And I think that's what makes it scarier than other forms of performance, is that you really need the audience to agree to a certain extent for your set to be a hit.
That's a really good point. The joke could be spot on in a sense, in the truthfulness of its message or whatever, but if you can't get the audience to go along with you and laugh, then yeah, it's failed. So you're right. Comedy has a little bit more of a higher bar that you have to leap over to really be successful. Well, so one more thing before we get to your film. You say you have a lot of this comedic material. I'm just curious, what kind of comedic material you have? Like, is it for other films or videos? Is it just for stand-up? And then how soon might we see some of this come to fruition?
So I write down notes on everything. Like, I'll literally wake up in the middle of the night if I have an idea, and I'll store it. And I have different tags and ways of categorizing it. So some stuff will be material for stand-up, some will be material for film ideas or story ideas. It's pretty much all over the place. Music ideas. So I'll write down anything that I think is interesting, and then later on kind of go back through it and see if it was any good or not. Sometimes things seem like a good idea to you at the time, and later you go back and you're like, nah, that was a horrible idea. But, after a while, some of the things, they keep popping their heads up. And that's when you know, like, okay, this thing has some staying power. Maybe I need to focus on this a little bit.
Gotcha. And would you ever, would any of these projects include doing like another Kickstarter type thing, crowdfunding like you did before?
Possibly. I have a music project coming up that we're thinking about doing a Kickstarter for. We've got the song completed. Just trying to do some final things, but for things like that, we might. For the movie, the short film we just did, we got a grant for that. But it all depends on the specific project, whether or not it's open for crowdfunding. My main point is just to get these projects out there. Right now, it's me and my wife, and we just kind of work together, using our own money and our own resources. So,
your last
out there.
Your last crowdfunding project, you did better with cryptocurrency than you did with dollars on Kickstarter.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, and with cryptocurrency getting more popular and widespread in use, I'm sure it's going to be even more so the case with your next Kickstarter. So we look forward to that, definitely. Well, let's get to it. I've been kind of holding off. I just wanted to give people some context and have a little build-up. But let's talk about this short film. Now, it's The Inconsiderate House Guest. Tell us about it. Tell us how it got started and more.
So, one of my friends knew that I was trying to get into. So let me start at the very beginning. My wife is an actress, and we had been trying to find something that we could do together. When I do music, I do that primarily on my own, but we wanted to work together and collaborate on creating things. And since she had a love of film and acting, and I had a love for writing, we thought we could combine it, and I could write movies, and she could direct them. We could edit together, and then just kind of produce our own little projects that way. She directed my my video Good Cops, so we've worked together on several projects in the past, but we kind of wanted to take that up another level, and we knew that in order to do it, we would need to get more kind of production budget. So we started looking around, and we found an organization called Tal Nexus that offers grants to filmmakers. So we applied for the grant. They gave us a grant and paired us with a Hollywood mentor that I actually have some news on as well. Courtney, her name is Courtney Balaker, and they're about. She created a movie along with her husband called Little Pink House. That's about the Suzette Kelo eminent domain decision, and that's about to have its national premiere on April 20th. So we were partnered with Courtney and given resources to go out, hire a full crew, hire post-production people, and instead of having to do everything kind of guerrilla style, actually do a full SAG shoot. So we were able to put together our vision exactly how we wanted to do it with the resources we need. And the result is The Inconsiderate House Guest, which is a short comedy that it means a lot of things to a lot of people. So I don't know if I really want to say what it means to me, because when people watch it, a lot of people take different things. Like I'll have people see it and say, that was about immigration, 100%. And other people, people will say, no, that was totally about government overreach. And other people will say, no, that's about individual rights. And I don't necessarily like to inject why I wrote it. I have a specific reason I wrote it. But people who watch it come away with a completely different take depending on what their stance is, which is what I want to do, because I don't want to necessarily hit people over the head with the message and tell them what to think. I just want them to think.
Yeah, I think that the best art is, I think, of course, most, if not all artists have an intention behind their work for what it means for them. But I think the best art is still given that open to interpretation by viewers or listeners or whatever it is, where they can kind of project their own experience and ideas and thinking onto it and come away with their own conclusions about what it means. So that's pretty neat. Well, we're coming to break. So on the other side, I want to get some more details about this film, and without maybe giving away the whole plot, maybe getting a little bit more of tidbits of what's going on, and also I want to ask Rob when we come back how he was able to. I said the best art is where anyone can kind of throw their interpretation on it. That's really hard to do. So I want to know how he was able to do that himself so successfully. So we'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the second to last segment of the Crypto Show, where we had to say goodbye to Larken Rose and Amanda Rachwitz, the Dragon Anarchist. But don't forget, if you're interested in getting a seminar going with their candlelight seminar about...
Candles in the Dark.
Candles in the Dark, that's what it is. Thank you. Just get 30 to 40 people interested in your hometown and try to find accommodations for them, and I think you can make it happen. And their websites, again, are thedragonanarchist.weebly.com and larkenrose.com, and you should get his book, The Most Dangerous Superstition. It's available on Kindle as an ebook, but hopefully they're going to have some more in print along with his other works. So check that out. And real quick, let's do a CryptoCompare.com news bite before we get back to our guest, Rob Hustle. And that news bite is Visa and WorldPay take blame for duplicate charges on Coinbase. Visa and payment processing company WorldPay issued a joint statement on the Coinbase blog last week, taking responsibility for charging Coinbase customers multiple times for the same transaction. Before admitting fault in the statement published by Coinbase, Visa had at first blamed Coinbase, telling the Financial Times on February 16th that it had not made any systems changes that would result in the duplicate transactions cardholders are reporting. However, the latest statement from Visa and WorldPay reads, quote, WorldPay and Coinbase have been working with Visa and Visa issuing banks to ensure that duplicate transactions have been reversed and appropriate credits have been posted to cardholder accounts. All right, thank you, CryptoCompare.com, for that news bite, and let's get back to our guest, Rob Hustle. And, of course, his website is robhustle.com. Most of you are probably familiar, but for those who aren't, be sure to check out his website. And let's get back to the short film he produced with his wife, Solara, the Inconsiderate House Guest. Now, as I was saying before the break, it's the best art is widely open to people's subjective interpretation and their individual personal take on it. But it's not an easy thing to accomplish, even especially when an artist still has his own angle to it. So again, I don't want you to say your angle like you said, but how are you able to make it so open to interpretation like that? It's not an easy thing to do.
I think the first thing is in the setup of the premise. You have to have a solid premise. And if you do, you'll be able to take that in a lot of different directions. For instance, the setup here is really simple. We have one house, and we have two people in it that are very different people. And just by virtue of that, there are a lot of situations that can arise. Like, if you take two people with opposing beliefs and stick them in a small space, there will automatically be drama and tension that comes out of that. So if you have a strong premise, it's easy to set that up. The second thing is you have to have good people around you that can, whose opinions you trust, that can give you notes and help to make sure that you're not writing a whole bunch of, crap, basically, because it's easy to get lost in the monkey house. Have you heard that expression, the monkey house? Like,
no.
You go to the monkey house in the zoo and it just stinks, right? But you're in there for like 15 minutes, and after a while, you just can't smell it anymore.
That's a perfect analogy. Okay, I see. That's funny.
So the same thing happens with writing. Like, you spend so much time in these situations and with these characters that sometimes you can miss really large-level things that you got wrong. But if you have people around you that you trust and that will be honest with you, you can get feedback and say, is this working? What's not working? And we were very lucky, like I said, to have a really solid mentor with Courtney Ballacher, and all the people through the process gave us great notes and feedback that made sure that we were on point.
Awesome, and it reminds me of the cartoon from the '90s, The Critic, where he doesn't like a movie and he goes, "It stinks." I like that monkey house analogy. That's pretty funny. Well, and again, I don't, as you said, I don't want you to throw out your own intention behind the meaning of the film, but as Danny pointed out over break, a lot of your work is very anti-establishment, which is what makes it so awesome. Is this, without giving away too much of your own personal take or the story, is this story in some way an anti-establishment message, or what do you think?
Absolutely. It absolutely is. That's the reason that I wrote it in the first place, was to to actually deliver this message. And I think a lot of people aren't expecting it. It's a comedy. It's funny. When we did the premiere, people were laughing throughout the whole thing, but I don't think people were actually, I think that kind of loosened a lot of people up, and they weren't really ready when the message gets delivered. And it's not like I deliver it and say, and this is what you need to believe. But there are definite turns that change the way you look at things and cause you to consider. So when I wrote it, it was definitely, from my point of view, an anti-establishment piece, as are most of the things that I create, which is one of the reasons that I make art at all, is to try to get people to think and hopefully to open their minds to a better way of being.
Well, that's an awesome reason to make a film like this, and your anti-establishment streak is nothing but impressive. So I'm really excited to at some point watch this film. Well, without giving too much away, is there perhaps a few more details about the film, like I don't know, almost like a trailer that you could give us? Obviously, the title kind of says a lot, but without giving the whole plot away, is there maybe a little more detail about the story you can give us?
So the teaser that we use to describe it is: when an inconsiderate house guest invades your personal space and refuses to respect your boundaries, sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. So that kind of gives you a setup of what's going to happen. We have two people that are living together. One of them starts to impose on the other person's personal space, doesn't respect their boundaries, and things happen from there. If people are also, by the way, if people are interested in following the film, right now we have a Facebook page set up. If you just look up The Inconsiderate House Guest, you can follow us there. And the best way to see it right now is through film festivals. We just had our world premiere, and we're in the middle of our film festival submission process. So we really want to bring it out to Austin and screen it there. So if there's any film festival people listening, check your inbox, because we're going to be submitting to festivals in Austin, and hopefully we can screen out there. But for other cities, if you follow us on Facebook for right now, The Inconsiderate House Guest, we'll be posting all of the places where our screenings are going to be happening.
That's awesome. So yeah, definitely check out the Facebook page, guys. And I would love to have it screened here in Austin. I feel like we must know some people in the film industry here who can get it done. So
we might have a connection with Alamo, so I'll check into that.
Excellent. Danny has all the connections. Thank God. The show would be nothing without him. Well, that's exciting. So when was this premiere and where was it? And then what festivals specifically are you trying to get into?
So we just premiered at Smash Cut Cinefest in San Francisco, and that was last Wednesday. So it was really recent. As far as the festivals, there's a ton of them. So right now we're strategizing about which ones to apply to. We've applied to Anthem Film Festival, and we're hoping to get into that one, which takes place at Freedom Fest, and there are a couple other that we're considering right now, but we're still making that list.
We're interviewing John Stossel on our next show, so we'll ask.
Great.
Heck yeah, let's name drop for the film for John, and let's see what he can do. That's a good idea. He's gonna love the crypto show enough to he'll do any favor for us.
Well, I'll just ask him.
I know I would.
I'll ask him.
Oh, you're so sweet, Rob. Well, we got about a minute and a half till break, but what's been the reception to the film so far? I mean, you already mentioned the audience seemed to laugh quite a bit. Obviously, that's a good indicator of the reception, but we got about a minute, a little more than that. Tell us what the reception has been like otherwise.
We've had great feedback. So other than the audience, I mean, obviously you want the audience to like it, but the cinematographer that we got on this film was a genius, and he's done a lot of really great work, and actually agreed to work on this project because he read the script and liked it.
Wow.
Other than that, we wouldn't have been able to get him. So we were super excited to work with him, and he liked it. So a lot of the people, my wife was happy with the writing, and I thought she did a great job directing. And the people that funded it also liked it. So far across the board, we've had good reviews. And I hope that if people didn't like it, they would tell us too, because it's not like I'm doing it for an ego thing. I really want to make a good quality film that will get people to think, But so far, it's been received well by everyone who's seen it.
Well, that's excellent. I can only imagine it's been genuine, positive reviews and feedback. I mean, people are pretty honest about stuff like this. So that's really encouraging to hear. We'll be right back in our final segment to talk more with Rob Hustle about the Inconsiderate House guest and more. Stay tuned.
Oh, sorry, that's my ringtone.
It really is.
Yeah, before that it was Call the Cops, so I always have something that'll piss someone off.
Man, my next song's gonna piss a lot of people off.
Oh, cool. Hopefully, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a link to it on my website. It's called Take It Off.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the mandatory hijab laws in Iran.
Oh, the
hijab.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
You want to talk about that at all?
We could. I'm also working on the premiere for Little Pink House, which is going it's doing its national premiere. Have you guys heard of that movie?
Yeah, they actually featured it at Freedom Fest last year. This past year, yeah.
Yeah, so that's got its premiere on April 20th, and I've been trying to work with them to try to get some promo for that stuff.
That so was man. That was, I think that was one of the top one. It won most of the awards at Freedom Festival.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it won the. I don't know if it's the grand prize, but if it's called the grand prize, I think it won that.
Yeah,
that's pretty. Yeah,
impressive. I knew I had heard of that movie when you talked about it, and that's exactly where I heard about it. Was at Freedom Fest.
Yeah, totally. It's a great movie. It has Catherine Keener, and it's winning awards everywhere. It's coming out. We're trying to get people to screen it. We have an independent distribution thing set up where people can sign up to bring it to their city. So if anyone wants to actually see it, it's the best movie ever made about eminent domain, when the government comes and takes your house against your will. So, that happens in every town where the government uses eminent domain to steal property, and this is the best movie ever made to raise awareness about it.
Wow.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to see it.
All right. We got music there, Chris.
All right, Rick, bring us back. Guys, welcome back to our final segment. Let me throw out one more CryptoCompare.com news bite before we get back to our guest, Rob Hustle. California bill would legally recognize blockchain data. Last week, a California lawmaker named Ian Calderon has introduced a bill that, if passed, would update the state's electronic records laws to account for blockchain signatures and smart contracts. Assembly Bill 2658 aims to expand on the definition of electronic records and signatures to include those in the blockchain, recognizing the potential for true immutability found in distributed ledgers, which can be far superior to legacy methods in many ways. The bill reads, quote, "A record that is secured through blockchain technology is an electronic record." Okay. That's a kind of interesting, exciting development. Let's get back to Rob Hustle and the Inconsiderate House guest. And I just want to say, too, that just getting a little teaser for what it's about from Rob and from the title.
It's basically about when me and Chris go to an Airbnb in New York City. End of story.
Yes, and my snoring keeps up everybody. I know. All our listeners know, too. You've brought this up a ton recently. Thank you. He's lucky because, long story short, my accommodations at Anarcapulco fell through until the last 2 nights, and I almost had to sleep in Danny's trailer or RV, and he's lucky I didn't because that would have been very disastrous for his sleep.
That's why I pawned you off on someone else.
And I'm sure Jess is ever grateful for that. But
he's never going to talk to me again.
Oh, I hope it wasn't me. Oh well. Well, let's get back to the film. So, are there going to be copies available at some point for people to get their hands on?
Yeah, eventually we're going to have it available for everyone. Right now, we're only making it available through film festivals because a lot of film festivals have screening requirements. So you have to limit the availability in order to participate in the festival. So once we're done doing the festival circuit, then we'll make plans to give it a wider release where everyone can see it.
That's really exciting. Well, like I said, we hope to maybe work something out to try to bring it to Austin in the near future. So we'll see about that. I want to talk to you in the remaining segment we have about a couple of other things you're working on. But real quick, I wanted to just ask your wife, Solara, as an actress, is there any work that she's doing that you wanted to kind of mention real quick for our audience?
So my wife's name's actually Leticia. So I think you're using one of the aliases off the Skype. So I just want to make sure that.
I'm sorry.
I just want to know, just to clarify for her, so she doesn't think I have another wife out there. So my wife Leticia, we work together on all our projects. So we're a husband and wife creative team. Whenever I write, she edits the stuff. Whenever we produce something, she directs. So all of the projects that I'm working on, we're working on together.
That's awesome. Well, you guys do great work together, and two heads are always better than one, even if one head is pretty sharp. So, and Leticia, I just want to say, Rob is very faithful and true to you, and you're the only one for him.
You heard it here, baby.
Sorry about that. Anyway, I want to talk about your new song, Take It Off, and I want to get to this film that you were mentioning off air, Little Pink House, but real quick, tell us about the song Take It Off.
So, Take It Off, if anyone goes to my website, right at the top, I have a link to the project page, Take It Off. And this is a really interesting song. So, I'm not sure if people are aware, but a lot of people might have seen recently in Iran, they've been having protests against the government, and there's been a lot of women who have been taking off their hijabs, putting them on sticks, wearing white in protest of the mandatory hijab laws, because women there and in many countries around the world are forced to wear hijabs whether they want to or not. And if they don't, then they can be beaten, thrown in jail, or otherwise abused, property confiscated. An Iranian journalist named Masih Alinejad started a project called My Stealthy Freedom. And what My Stealthy Freedom is women in Iran and in other countries where it's illegal to not wear the hijab would take off their hijabs, take selfies, and then submit it to this Facebook group, just showing that they had the freedom to do it. And the movement blew up. I think right now My Stealthy Freedom has over 1 million people on its Facebook page alone.
Wow.
So there's a lot of support for that. And they also have White Wednesdays. It's a hashtag campaign where women who want to keep the hijab on, but show solidarity for women's right to choose whether or not to wear it, wear white hijabs. So I really, really liked what she was doing, and I liked the work that was going on there. So I contacted her, and we created a song called Take It Off. And the main point of the song, we're not taking a stand against the hijab. What we're saying is if a woman wants to wear one, she should be able to. And if she doesn't, she should be able to not wear one and not be persecuted for it. So our singular stance is that it's a woman's right to choose what she wears. And if she doesn't want to wear it, then she shouldn't be punished. So we've created a song. I wrote the lyrics, but I didn't perform any of it. We had the melody written. We have an amazing vocalist who sang the song. And we're actually finished with it right now. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to come out, but we've done the mixes. I have the song completed on my computer, and I'm really excited to get this out there because there's literally millions of women who are fighting for these rights, and I feel like this song can really be a rallying cry for them.
Absolutely, that's such a worthy cause, and it's one that I don't think gets enough coverage in the media or gets enough awareness.
Do you do anything that doesn't have a cause to it?
Not in public.
Whoa, wait a minute.
I play a lot of video games when no one's looking. I don't know if there's any.
That's what I really love about
no
you, man.
that.
It's like, call the cops. Everything that you've done so far that we know about in musically is always there's something behind it. It has a meaning, or it's raising money for somebody. So that's great, man.
Artistically, yeah, all the stuff that I put out there, I want to have a purpose to it. That's a conscious choice.
And that's the way art should be done. That's the way music should be done. It should have, a lot of music has personal messages, and that's great. But a broader message for about the lives of a lot of people is the real. That's the greatest message you can put in music, and that's what you do, and that's awesome. Well, we got about 5 minutes. Let's talk about another thing that you're, I guess, kind of involved in that has an also really important message. And this is a subject that, again, a lot of people know little about and care little about, though they should, because it's really an egregious thing that governments do. But anyway, tell us about the Little Pink House.
Okay, so this Little Pink House is a movie created by Ted and Courtney Balaker, starring Catherine Keener and Jean Triplehorn, and it will be released nationally on April 20th. And this movie is the best movie ever made about the subject of eminent domain. And a lot of people don't know what eminent domain is, but basically, the government has the right to take your property from you, whether you like it or not. They can decide that they want to build something where your house is, and they can force you to sell it. And there's nothing you can do about it. This case that the movie is based on is a true story, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the government. But what's really bad about this story is the fact that they bulldozed an entire neighborhood, right? They got rid of all the places, this whole neighborhood, so that they could, I think they could put up some commercial buildings that would increase the city's tax revenue, right? So that's the justification, is we can take away your private property because we can make more money with that property. And they did it. They bulldozed the neighborhood, they got rid of her house and moved it somewhere else. There was a lot of stuff that happened, but they never developed the property.
What?
Yeah. They got rid of the neighborhood, bulldozed the neighborhood, got rid of this house, never built anything.
Now, can you tell us why, or does that kind of give away too much of the movie?
No, the developers just couldn't get their house in order.
Oh my God!
They promised all kinds of tax benefits and all kinds of things, and they never did anything with it.
So they did all that for nothing. The Supreme Court even rubber stamped an egregious theft by the local or state government, and it amounted to nothing.
Right, but the thing is the justification was we can take your house because we can make more money with that land. And that's crazy. And then they take the house, and they don't do anything with the land, and nobody's accountable to it.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some sort of public good, like, you know, a highway or something, you know, something utilitarian about it. Not that they're just going to get more taxes. That shouldn't.
You're literally stealing your house to build the roads.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and they're already kind of doing that piecemeal through property taxes. I mean, that often goes to schools, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, they'll usually cite public good, like Danny was saying. But a lot of times it's not even roads. Not that that's justification either. A lot of times they'll say we need these condos to go up instead because that's a public good, or these malls to go in your neighborhood because that's a public good. And that's just a euphemism for justifying their theft, you know.
The Supreme Court basically said that increasing your taxes is a public good, and we can take your houses to do it.
Oh my God, that's so ridiculous. That goes to show you how wise those guys are.
Right, and we're trying to, like, this is, eminent domain sounds kind of abstract, but this movie personalizes it. Every film festival it's been in, it's won awards. Everyone who's seen it has been blown away. So we want to try to get people out to see this movie. And we set up a website for this called Little Pink Army. So if anyone out there listening wants to bring a screening of Little Pink House to their city, they can go to littlepinkarmy.com, put in their email address, and I will personally walk them through the process of how to set up a screening in their city.
We might have to do that. That sounds excellent. I really want to see this film. We've got a little over a minute. Rob Hustle at robhustle.com. Thanks for being on the show. In the last minute, tell us your final thoughts or anything else we need to know about Little Pink House or the Inconsiderate House Guest.
So Little Pink House is opening April 20th. The initial features are going to be in New York, Santa Monica, San Francisco, Atlanta. But we want to bring this to every theater across the country because there's a Little Pink House in every town. In every town, there's some person who's had their property taken for eminent domain. So we really want to bring that out. So anyone who's interested in bringing this movie, go to littlepinkarmy.com, enter your email address. The process is super easy. It's risk-free. And I will personally help you, even if you have no experience setting up a screening. I will help you to get this shown in your city.
That sounds like fun, and you can have some personal interaction with Rob Hustle himself setting it up and get this movie shown to your neighbors and your friends and family. Rob Hustle, thanks so much for being on the show again.
Thank you guys so much. I love you guys, and I always love talking with you.
Love talking to you. Wish we had more time, but we'll have you back on in the near future. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks so much.
All right, man. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I'll try to get more info for this stuff to see if I can get you guys to see Little Pink House and the Inconsiderate House Guest.
Right. I'm genuinely really interested, so let's do our best to make that happen. Absolutely.
Yeah. For sure. Thank you so much, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Chris Hollers later. Throw me a blurb. Throw me a blurb.
All right, sounds good.
All right.
All right, thanks, man. Bye.